Hi everybody, I wanted to do a video today on a sort of a paradox. So I titled this video Self-Improvement for the No Self. So how is it that there could be any self-improvement if there is no self? Yet I'm going to share with y'all how much self-improvement there's been since there is no self. So I was just sort of contemplating just how things were before the non-dual awakening that I had and where different aspects of my life are today. And it hasn't really been that long since I've had that non-dual awakening, a little bit over a year. So a lot has changed and a lot hasn't changed. But if we're talking about self-improvement, things that usually people write goals on and things like that, a lot has changed without anybody doing it. Now, nobody was doing any of that stuff before, but there was like a control. There was a resistance. There was a wanting to control it, a wanting to own it, a wanting to make it happen from the space of the self wanting to make it happen for itself. Where now things are just happening to no one. There's still the apparent person, which is me, Nydia, or let's say you, and whatever is happening there, there's still the body, there's still the person, there's still the personality, there's still the thoughts, there's still the life. There's everything is still there. That's why I say a whole lot hasn't changed, but a whole lot of what we would consider self-improvement has changed. And how did that happen? I don't know, but it just seems to me that everything's wanting to come into union, wanting to come into connection, into wholeness, into oneness. So that just naturally happens. So it's kind of like a natural phenomena happening, just happening. But it happens. And so I'm going to share with y'all some of the stuff that has changed for me, that is self-improvement related, and how that is coming into wholeness and union. Okay? So I was just contemplating so many different things, so I'm not even sure what exactly I'm going to start with. Basically, a lot of things that people make goals about. Let's start with like health. Lots of people want to improve their health, whether that's losing weight, overcoming some medical issue, or improving a medical problem that somebody may have, improving mental health, improving any sort of health related thing. Many people create goals around that, and that is a very serious one and a very good one, because our health is our vitality, and although we never live or die, we are here in this body that we are in, and we're living this apparent life. And in this apparent life, illnesses and weight loss, weight gain, all of that stuff do happen. So prior to the awakening, I was a much heavier person. And after the awakening, somehow my body began to crave healthier foods and certain drinks and foods that I really had never really had like in that quantity before. I mean, I've had it, but I had never wanted to just like always have juices or fresh foods and things like that. That wasn't really a big priority of mine. As far as it came with food, I was pretty easygoing and just ate whatever it is that I wanted. But after the awakening, my body just began to crave certain foods. And those foods were healthy foods. And I think that what's happening is when you're kind of in that separation mode where you're thinking you're a separate person, or you're feeling very separate from everything and everyone, you're just unhealthier. And it may be a sort of illness, right? So some sort of dis-ease, as I've heard it said. Um, so what happens as soon as you have that non-dual awakening is that that sense of separation um, is eliminated. It is clearly seen through that there is no separation at all. And when that happens, it's like health and vitality just it just happens, because when something is healthy and whole and in union with what it is, um, it's healthy. We talk about like maybe plants or animals and things like that. When they're in union, when they're doing what they should be doing in the environment that they should be doing, they're very healthy. But when you take them out of the environment or separate them from what they are, like I watched a documentary about whales where they were taking orcas and putting them in like amusement parks and stuff, and their health was declining, and they had lower mortality rates, or I mean higher mortality rates, and they weren't living as long as well. So things like that, if you remove or separate something from what it essentially is, the health suffers. So I believe, and these are just my own thoughts, um, that that separation causes a lot of this disease that we're speaking of. So for one, my health improved, my weight decreased just from eating the healthier foods, and then my health just in turn completely, I was healed. I had a very bad thyroid problem, to the point where I had radiation and everything on my thyroid, and even that was still not, hadn't cured the issue. I also had high blood pressure, anxiety, sleep disorder. I had these issues. Okay, so I had health issues, and all of those health issues within a year, actually less than a year, less than 6 months, it's amazing, all healed themselves. How? I can't tell you. I didn't specifically set a goal or do anything specific to change those things. I took my medicine until all of a sudden I felt very, very good. And I noticed I had lost weight. I noticed, like, when I would take my blood pressure, that my blood pressure was actually really getting too low. So I stopped taking that medicine, and then it was just regulated and always pretty much stayed normal. My thyroid, I kind of just intuitively just stopped taking the medicine and went to the doctor when I need to and been checking on it, and everything's been fine without it. My sleep issue completely went away after the non-dual awakening. I just fell asleep like a baby. I didn't have any trouble falling asleep. My anxiety completely disappeared. I probably had maybe one bout of anxiety since that time. So all of that just kind of healed itself with that awakening in me and bringing me back into union. So that just all naturally happened. And now, one of the reasons I want to talk about self-improvement is because a lot of speakers talk about there's nothing to do, there's nothing to improve, there's nothing to work on. While I agree with that, in another sense, I want to share kind of what's going on with me is I've been having the desire to take up yoga or do some sort of exercise, which I haven't been doing. And not so much for any kind of weight loss. It's like a drive or a desire now that has just arisen. And I don't have very many desires anymore since the non-dual awakening. So this is kind of unusual, which is why I wanted to share it with y'all. So I have this desire to exercise now. So now I'm going to integrate that. And what will happen with that is it's only going to, I'm assuming, improve my health, improve my well-being. So I think these things just naturally start to occur after a non-dual awakening. But I think that this is just everything coming into union, coming into wholeness, becoming healthy and whole. And if you haven't had a non-dual awakening, if you haven't had an awakening at all, that doesn't mean that you can't try some of these things. Now, where some other speakers say there's nothing to do, nothing to get, I understand that because, we have really no control. What's happening is happening. But we have this sense that we're doing it. And I had a short period of time there, and I think a lot of people that have had a non-dual awakening report this as well, where it was just kind of like I wasn't doing a whole lot. I was just kind of watching videos and not really being very productive, whereas before I was a planner. I was a much unhealthier person, but I was a planner. I was always a planner, writing goals down. What am I going to do? When am I going to meet this goal? That sort of thing. And that all fell away. But if I would have stayed just not doing anything, and not that I can control it, but there does seem to be a sense of doing and not doing. Like sometimes you can get into the sense of just not doing anything, and that's perfectly fine. You can do that. But to experience life fully and whole, to experience life, I would say, in a much more vibrant, healthy way, you do have to get up from the bed or the couch and do some things. So no one is really doing it. But there's still something there that I don't understand, that there's a choice made. Ultimately, this finite figure of Nydia is not really making that choice. There is something else, and it's not separate. It is this, but it's not this finite Nydia. It's everything. So when it's improving its health, it's improving the health of everything. So when my health is improving, my mental health is improving, like my anxiety went away and all this stuff, I'm able to connect with my child better. I'm able to connect with my husband better. I'm able to connect with my dog better and with people around me. And I'm better able to make decisions and choices. Even though I'm not making them, they're made in a sense of clarity and health. So I wanted to share just a little bit about that. How after non-dual awakening, health is restored. I don't know how it happens. It just does. I didn't do a whole lot for it to happen. And, that just happened to be my case. But even if you haven't had a non-dual awakening, getting into union of health will help you to be better connected to everything around you in a much healthier way. So I just wanted to share that little bit with y'all for now, and I think I will continue on this because I have a little bit more to share with y'all regarding self-improvement or changes that happen to the self, and how some of these things that are kind of hindrances, but yet, I used to do them in the past, really do begin to fall away. And when they do, it allows for a better connection to everything around you, a more positive, harmonious connection. So I hope that you can contemplate a little bit about that, about health and wellness. And I'll check back with you all next time to speak a little bit about self-improvement when it comes to like addictions and things like that somehow we fall into, right? So no one's doing this, but it's just, it all happens, and it's as if we're doing it. And ultimately, the ultimate will is what's doing it, which is you. So you are actually doing this, but not the way that you think. But it's all being done with your ultimate will in mind. So maybe a little bit confusing. If you have any questions, you can always email me, and I'd love to answer your questions. All right, thank you for watching.